Welcome to Channel Japan. I'm Maki Arai.
And I'm Makiko Tsuda.
Every week we bring you the freshest information out of Japan, right here from our studio in Tokyo.
From the economy to culture and even food, if you want to find out what's happening in Japan right now, this is where you'll find it.
These are our topics for today. As always, we have some interesting stories to share with you, so make sure you stay with us. Well, let's get started. First, take a look at this. This is a 1,000 yen note, which is about 10 US dollars. And on the back side is Mount Fuji.
That's right. Now, Mount Fuji, as many of our viewers may know, was registered as a World Heritage Site this June, and officials are hoping that it will lead to increased tourism and give a boost to the economy.
Yes. Well, Mount Fuji isn't just the tallest mountain in Japan. The unique shape and the beautiful natural scenery are also reasons why it has become so popular.
Yes, that's right. And this time we'll be joining some tourists from Singapore and Italy as they make the climb up the mountain.
Also, we'll explore why Mount Fuji has generated such big interest among tourists in Japan and abroad.
Yes. Now, before we show the clip, I'd like to give a quick overview of Mount Fuji. Now, first, the location. It's right in the center of the main island of Japan and straddles Shizuoka and Yamanashi prefectures. And it's 3,776 meters tall, and it is inactive right now, but it's considered Japan's biggest volcano. And one interesting fact is that there was a movement to register Mount Fuji as a World Heritage Site over 20 years ago, but it resulted in failure.
Yes, I know at the time the plan was to get it listed as a World Natural Heritage Site.
Exactly. But subsequently they aimed for listing as a cultural heritage site, and this year that dream was finally realized.
Yes, so which means that it was recognized not just for the scenery, but the significance it has in traditional Japanese beliefs and art.
That's right. And the relationship between Japanese people and Mount Fuji is actually holding the key to why it has become so revered in Japan. So have a look.
Japan's most iconic landmark, Mount Fuji. The mountain has captivated people since ancient times. The ultimate way to experience its grandeur is to make the climb up to the peak. We headed to the foot of the mountain. In fact, it's possible to reach the 5th station by car, 2,304 meters above sea level. It's early September, just after the peak summer climbing season, but there are numerous tourists and mountain climbers. With growing interest among foreign travelers, it has become an international tourist destination. We even spot a man who appears to be a Buddhist priest. There are actually 4 main routes up to the peak. The most popular is the Yoshida Trail. The climb takes between 5 and 7 hours. Night has fallen. Buses and cars arrive one after another. Of course, it's possible to climb during the day, but they are here for a nighttime hike. The reason?
Hopefully, it's going to be very smooth, and I'm really expecting the sunrise. But I don't know, it's purely depends on luck.
By arriving while still dark, they hope to reach the top just in time to see the sunrise. In Japan, the act of seeing the sunrise from a mountain is called goraiko and considered a blessing. This is Yosuke Yokokura, who works at a travel agency that organized this tour. He says the number of overseas tourists is growing.
Sometimes about half of the tour participants are from overseas. Seeing the sun rise from the top of the mountain, this is a culture of Mount Fuji that you can't experience at other mountains. Overseas tourists may be hoping to get a taste of that.
The tour participants on this day include a couple from Singapore and 2 students from Italy.
Right now we're at the 5th station of Mount Fuji, And the elevation here is already 2,300 meters above the sea level. So air is much, thinner than where we used to be 2 hours ago. So once you arrive here, I just recommend you to stay here at least 1 hour to acclimatize yourself.
The average temperature at the peak is -7 degrees Celsius. Even in summer, it's a chilly 4 to 6 degrees, so warm clothing and rain gear are indispensable.
Shall we get going?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's hit the road.
Yep, let's hit the road.
It's time to set out. To get used to the climb, it's best to start slowly.
So what inspired you to, climb Mount Fuji this time?
Well, this is the first time.
To visit Japan?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Of course.
Doing Eugene? You doing okay?
Still okay. I want to save my energy.
You want to see what?
Save my energy.
Oh, save your energy. Okay. Okay. Good for you.
There are volcanic rocks everywhere. They make their way carefully, step by step. Resting regularly, they adjust to the conditions. Here, the group members decide to make self-introductions.
As we suggested, I think it's a good idea to know each other because we haven't, introduced. My name is Yosuke. I'm a tour operator as well as a person in charge of this entire group tonight. My objective tonight is, take you all to the top of the mountain to let you see the beautiful sunrise from Japan's highest point.
I'm Sai. I'm from Singapore. I'm a telecom engineer. So this is my first time in Japan, and so very good to know you guys. Hope we have a good time.
Yes, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Yijing. So we came together. This is my husband. I'm an IT professional. Same as him. This is the first time of the Japan tour and the Mountain Fuji tour.
Okay.
My name is Filippo Franzoni. We are from Italy, Bologna, and we are students, university students of computer engineering.
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Francesco. Nice to meet you. I'm the first, and 21 student of computer engineering at University of Bologna with my friends. This is the first time in Japan, and this is the first time that I go to Mount Fuji. As you can see from my crazy clothes, I think I probably got the wrong way.
No. Some people are dressed like that, exactly like you.
Okay,
Don't worry about it.
Okay. So okay.
By chance, they all have an IT background. So far, the climb doesn't seem to have taken a toll on them. They're off to a good start. About 100 kilometers from Mount Fuji is Kamakura, Kanagawa Prefecture.
I'm in front of a station called Fujimicho. Now, Fuji comes from Mount Fuji, and Mi means sea in Japanese, so it literally means a place where you can see Mount Fuji. Here I'm supposed to meet an expert on Mount Fuji, so let's see if he's coming. Here he is.
Hello, Mr. Tashiro. Thank you for meeting me today.
Hiroshi Tashiro is a high school geography teacher. Interested in Mount Fuji, he became an expert on the subject and has made a name for himself in climbing circles.
That necktie is quite eye-catching.
It has a print of Katsushika, Hokusai's Thunder and Mount Fuji.
Since ancient times, Japanese people have been keeping a record of the many faces of the mountain through drawings and photographs. Here, Mr. Tashiro tells us how to appreciate Mount Fuji. Walking through Fujimicho, numerous signs promoting the town are seen.
Here it says Fujimi Clinic. And this is the Fujimi Chiropractor.
The word Fuji has become a business catchphrase. The yakitori shop is also named Fuji.
Mount Fuji is a mountain of visual strength. It is a mountain that gives strength to those who look at it. Fujimi is a place where you can see Mount Fuji and get energy. In that sense, it's a perfect name for a clinic. This is it, just to the left here.
Mr. Tashiro takes us to a special spot from where Mount Fuji can be seen.
That sign says Fujimi Hill.
This residential area is the perfect location to get a spectacular view of Mount Fuji. But
So Mount Fuji is supposed to be right there, but it's clouded over.
Well, there's a slight outline.
Really?
Use your heart.
unfortunately, it's cloudy on this day. But when it's clear, this is the view. The moment the sun sets into Mount Fuji. It is a phenomenon referred to as Diamond Fuji and can only be seen twice a year at a specific time. On those rare days, crowds of people gather.
If it's just in the immediate area of Mount Fuji, the enjoyment would be limited. With Diamond Fuji, you actually can't see it from the mountain base because of how the sun moves. So it's better being further away, in Tokyo.
So the wide visibility draws admirers.
That's right. A third of the population in Japan, or 40 million people, are said to live in areas with a view of Mount Fuji. The business opportunities and economic effect of targeting those people are significant.
Using a computer to analyze the topography, Mr. Tashiro has pinpointed the areas with a view of Mount Fuji. On this map, they are highlighted in pink. It's possible to see the mountain from 300 kilometers away.
It's quite a wide area.
The farthest place is Irokara Fujimi Pass in Wakayama Prefecture, which is 322.9 kilometers away. We're thinking of applying for a Guinness World Record. After finding out they could see Mount Fuji, they renamed the area.
The name was changed?
Before, it used to be called Komugi Pass.
This is a picture taken from that area by an amateur photographer who traveled there more than 20 times over 3 years. Mount Fuji can be appreciated from many places. It also contributes to local economic activity.
In the past, when I was hand-making maps of places where Mount Fuji could be seen, I got a call from a landscaper. They wanted me to calculate if it was possible to see the mountain from a certain place. By promoting unusual or unique views of Mount Fuji, it's possible to target 40 million people.
For example, this picture is called Pearl Fuji. It captures the moment when not the sun, but a full moon hovers over the mountain.
Condos with a view of Mount Fuji fetch a higher price.
Is that true? The value goes up just because of that?
Tombs too.
It has quite an economic impact.
By seeing Mount Fuji, you receive energy. You could substitute energy with the economy. I really want people to make seeing Mount Fuji their foundation.
On this day, Mount Fuji remained hidden in clouds.
It's really unfortunate, but I suppose this kind of situation makes people want to come back.
That's true. Mount Fuji is right there. Every morning when I wake up, I take a picture of it from my home. Even if it's not visible, it's there. I take a picture, check my blood pressure, and start my day. It might be more appropriate to think of Mount Fuji as a being rather than a thing.
I feel I've gotten a glimpse of another world.
Now back to our climbers. It's been about an hour since they set off from the 5th station. They've reached the 6th station at 2,390 meters. Along the trail are several mountain cabins where people can rest and buy snacks and drinks.
Let's rest a bit.
The peak is still further up. It's important to rest regularly. Chocolate and other sugar sources are indispensable.
If you're staying here, you don't have to pay each time you use the toilet. So,
These cabins are also equipped with restrooms. There's a box to insert the usage fee. Below, lights from the town at the mountain base. And above, lights from the cabins. The group has fallen silent. This is the toughest part of the climb. Finally, the 7th station at an altitude of nearly 3,000 meters. Suo Yujing from Singapore throws in the towel.
Yeah. I know many people try to climb Mount Fuji, but not everybody succeeded. So yeah, don't worry about it.
Giving up on reaching the summit, they decide to take a nap in the cabin. It's a small space. The price on this day is about $65. It's almost midnight.
I don't know whether it's I underestimated Mountain Fuji or I overestimated myself.
I think both. The trip actually is a bit tougher than we thought, but it's still quite a nice trip. And especially we enjoy the stars. Give it a better try next trip.
Maybe next year.
Yeah.
Thwarting the attempts of many climbers is altitude sickness.
Okay, so are we ready?
Yes.
Okay.
The two students from Italy still seem to have energy. They hurry ahead. The climb becomes increasingly difficult.
Very, very cold.
Will they be able to reach the summit safely? After the break, we look at the economics of a World Heritage Site at the foot of Mount Fuji. And
this is the deity of Mount Fuji.
The little-known history behind the commercialization of Mount Fuji.
Mitsubishi Electric is helping to change the environment for the better around the world.
Green subway systems in India.
Green solar power systems in Singapore.
Sistem AC ramah lingkungan di Indonesia.
Eco changes for a greener tomorrow. Mitsubishi Electric.
For Earth, for life, Kubota.
One day has finished, and one new day has started on somewhere in the world. Kubota supports every moment somewhere out in the world. By the mechanization of agriculture, by the maintenance of water infrastructure, by the latest environmental engineering. We support a prosperous life for humans while protecting the environment of this beautiful Earth. Food, water, and the environment link the world. Kubota.
How do we build sustainability into our relationship with Mother Earth? That's Kaiteki, Mitsubishi Chemical Holdings.
ยังจำได้หรือเปล่านะเรื่องต่างๆที่เกิดขึ้นตอนวาดรูปนี้แต่ถ้ารถยนต์ในฝันของฉันมีจริงฉันคงจะมีความสุขมากเลย
Mitsubishi Electric is helping to change the environment for the better around the world.
Green subway systems in India.
Green solar power systems in Singapore.
Sistem AC ramah lingkungan di Indonesia.
Eco changes for a greener tomorrow. Mitsubishi Electric.
Oshinomura, Yamanashi Prefecture. This location is included in the World Heritage Site listing of Mount Fuji. The resources of the mountain are being harnessed by local people. Oshino Hakkai is known for its 8 deep ponds. The clear spring water is literally a wellspring for the local economy.
It's about 7 meters deep.
In times past, people climbing Mount Fuji would first purify themselves with the water here. The snow-capped peak of Mount Fuji is a captivating sight. That snow melts into the ground and reappears after a long time as spring water. Because the temperature and flow remain constant throughout the year, the water is utilized in a variety of ways, such as to supply homes and farms, and as a tourism resource. Oshino Hakkai has also preserved an old water mill as an attraction for tourists. About 10 minutes by car from there, a spot where visitors can learn about the origins of Mount Fuji worship. The Fuji Yoshida Museum of Local History. The guide is curator Mitsutoshi Fusei.
Mount Fuji has been a volcano since ancient times, so it's a terrifying mountain that can erupt and cause destruction. But it also has a beautiful side, so people began worshipping the mountain deity and it evolved into a religious site.
This museum holds valuable objects and documents underlying Mount Fuji's religious significance. Mount Fuji worship is said to go back 10,000 years.
It's said that Mount Fuji worship can be traced back to between 10,000 BC and 500 BC. Among artifacts from that period, they've found unique stone formations in areas where Mount Fuji is visible.
And the main draw here is...
This is a statue of the goddess of Mount Fuji, called Princess Kaguya.
This was made about 200 years ago in the age of samurai. The goddess was worshipped by people who feared the ill-tempered volcano. Usually, the statue is hidden inside the shrine. Mount Fuji worship became widespread among common folk through the teachings of an ascetic who actually climbed the mountain. Later, several groups were formed and carried out various activities, much like mountain climbing clubs in the modern age. Over time, Mount Fuji came to symbolize the ideal Japanese person steeped in morality and eventually transformed into the spiritual pillar of economic activity. Mr. Fusei hopes that the World Heritage Site listing will put the spotlight back on these aspects.
Right now, an extremely large number of people climb the mountain as a sport or leisure activity. But in the past, the objective was different. Most climbed out of religious devotion. Now that it's a World Heritage Site, I want people to see Mount Fuji from a different angle.
Japanese people's relationship with Mount Fuji has changed over the centuries. Returning to the mountain, this is the group of overseas tourists who began their climb at night. Their purpose is to see the sunrise from the summit.
A bit of more push.
But a couple from Singapore has thrown in the towel midway.
That's where we can find him.
They've decided to stay in a cabin at the 7th station. With the constant threat of altitude sickness and bad weather, Mount Fuji is not an easy climb. The remaining members are 2 students from Italy. They follow Mr. Yokokura, the guide.
So remember, we started from 2,300 meters level, the 5th station, but we gained 800 meters already. So just a bit more than 600 meters.
Okay.
And that's it.
And that's it.
Okay. Yes.
Approaching the summit, they converge with other climbers chasing the same sunrise view. The wind picks up. And the weather changes constantly.
We've finally arrived at the final 8th station cabin. We have a bit more to go. Hang in there.
The 2 students are too exhausted to speak. Still, they carry on. It's getting light. Passing through the Shinto Gate means they've reached the summit. This is the top of Mount Fuji, 3,776 meters above sea level, the highest point in Japan. The 2 are nowhere to be seen. They are staving off the cold in the rest area.
Very, very cold.
But they appear in good spirits. It's now 5:15. 8 hours since setting off from the 5th station. A view that's well deserved.
Okay, so you saw the view. you were just standing on the top of the mountain, Mount Fuji. Okay. Yeah.
8 hours since setting off from the 5th station. A view that's well deserved. The sun peeks through thick clouds. Mount Fuji, the object of worship and awe for the Japanese since ancient times. It has become a pilgrimage site for people around the world. Mount Fuji was registered as a World Heritage Site in 2013. Scale the summit or take in the view from below. There's a multitude of ways to get the Mount Fuji experience. A wellspring of energy and economic activity, Mount Fuji will continue to captivate the imagination.
Well, Utsuda-san, I got the impression that it's definitely not an easy climb. And I understand that some tourists from abroad go up to the mountain quite lightly equipped. So if any of our viewers plan to make the climb, I want them to make sure to get information beforehand and have the necessary gear.
I can't agree more. Now, the first summer climbing season after the heritage site was listed just ended, and the total number of visitors reached over 300,000.
Well, I understand local authorities and residents are still trying to figure out how to protect the mountain from the expected influx of tourists.
That's right. And for example, they've tested out a scheme to collect an entrance fee which will be used to protect the mountain environment. And during the 10 days of the trial, about 60% of climbers agreed to pay the fee, and they collected about $340,000 US.
That's quite a huge number,
isn't it? And so let me introduce you to some of the initiatives they have for environmental protection. Now, this mountain facility, can you tell what it is?
Something environmental.
Yes.
Is it a toilet?
Yes, it is. It's called a bio-toilet and was developed by Seiwa Denko in Hokkaido in northern Japan. And sawdust is used to break down microbes, so there's no need for water, and which means it can be set up anywhere. Also, they say there aren't any foul odours. And the lack of toilets has been pointed out as a problem for years, but the spread of these bio-toilets has helped in a big way, and the company has already installed about 30 on the mountain.
Well, I know Japanese automatic washing toilets are starting to become very popular abroad. So a waterless toilet could be the next trend.
It could be. And have a look at this picture. It was taken when officials from the National Railway Company of Vietnam came to visit. And there's been quite a lot of interest in this technology from countries in Asia as a way to promote sanitation and also environmental conservation in areas where there's no sewage systems. And the company says their product will start to be used on a trial basis in Vietnam starting from October.
Well, I hope along with the growing popularity of Mount Fuji, more Japanese technologies such as this can be used in other countries as well.
My parents work at a really great company, which makes cool computers and LCD TVs. Not only that, they build elevators for skyscrapers and zooming fast bullet trains. My mom designs the company's CT scan systems, which spot diseases. My dad develops power generation systems so people will have plenty of electricity. The company where my parents work is Toshiba.
Has anybody finished doing their pictures?
I have.
All around the world, Toshiba technology is hard at work, bringing smarter, faster, more sustainable development to life.
When I grow up, I want to work for people.
For a growing future, Toshiba.
The view is almost like peering down on the star-filled night sky at your feet. It's the city at night seen from a height of 450 meters. Make unforgettable memories. City lights stretching for as far as the eye can see. Find it at Tokyo Skytree.
Hey, look at this. They're building a huge steel plant with Kobelco technology.
Kobelco? Never heard of it.
It's Japanese. They can make iron with incredible speed. What once took 8 hours can be done in just 10 minutes.
Wow, the Japanese are incredible. The country of karate.
Ha! 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 Karate has nothing to do with it.
True.
The talk of the world. Kobelco.
Matsui and Company.
Asia, the engine of the global economy. Japan, a regional powerhouse. And now, direct from Japan, economic news with a global impact in Chinese, delivered by Nikkei. Read the future, lead the economy. Nikkei, Japan's leading media for business.
You're watching Channel Japan. In the next segment, we show you episodes from TV Tokyo's World Business Satellite. So, Utsuda-san, what's the topic today?
Yes, well, this time we'll be looking into the cemetery shortage in Japan. Now, finding a final resting place has become increasingly difficult because of the lack of land available to build cemeteries, and also the rapidly growing population, which means a rising death rate. And at the same time, there are some moves away from the traditional tombstone, with a growing number of people say they don't need such grand memorials.
And I understand there's another special factor behind the trend.
Yes, that's right. Now, many of the cemeteries in Japan are built inside Buddhist temples, but the relationship that the Japanese people have with these institutions is undergoing a big change. And just to show you how it's done, first, to have a tomb in a temple, it's necessary to be a member of that temple, and that means you need to give a monetary payment or an offering to hold the burial ceremony and for them to look after the grave after you die. And one of the responsibilities of being a member is to help pay for the upkeep of the temple.
Well, I understand that temples don't play as big of a role in the lives of ordinary people anymore.
You could say that. Many people say they find the donations and the fees and the obligations of being a member too cumbersome. And also there are a growing number of options in terms of funerals and tombs right now.
So, how is the cemetery business changing? Take a look.
In one section of a shopping mall, a so-called end-of-life fair is being held. Giving passers-by a passionate explanation is a priest from a local temple. The target? Baby boomers. What's this? Testing out a coffin? So how is it?
Is it relaxing?
Yes. It's difficult to explain. I've never been in one, so I've never had this feeling before.
Over here, a woman is getting a makeover. Pictures to be used at funerals. The service is free of charge.
If I can, I'd like to take another one next year.
The participants here all have several common traits.
A common wish among our customers is that they don't want to be a burden on their children or grandchildren. Many people also want a non-religious funeral.
Preferences regarding cemeteries are also changing. A lottery for plots at city-run cemeteries. Some were 72 times oversubscribed. The prime locations and prices make them highly prized. Of the 7 cemeteries in the lottery, the most popular was this: a shared woodland cemetery where people are buried together. Hidden underneath are holes where the remains will be interred.
The remains are interred in spaces called karoto, which are 2.1 meters deep and 1.5 meters in diameter. Each one can accommodate 400 to 500 people.
There are 27 such spaces, which they say can hold the remains of over 10,000 people.
Demand for tombs is growing. By building these joint burial facilities, we believe more city people will be able to find a final resting place.
The burial cost at these woodland cemeteries is about $1,400. In contrast, traditional cemeteries require an initial payment of $3,000 to $160,000, in addition to annual upkeep fees. The lottery winners are announced.
The price is also reasonable. I hope the media will raise public awareness to increase these places. Private cemeteries can cost $7,000, $10,000, or several tens of thousands of dollars.
With reasonably priced and easily accessible cemeteries difficult to find, some say they don't want a tomb at all.
I'm back from my physical rehab session. Thank you for looking after the house.
In front of her is a white container holding her husband's ashes. There is no tomb. His remains are also kept here.
I always keep him on my bedside table upstairs. He sleeps together with me.
Ms. Inoue didn't call a Buddhist priest for her husband's funeral, which was held at her home as a non-religious ceremony.
When Buddhist temples want to make renovations, they rely on payment from members. Unless you're financially secure, it's not possible to be a member.
A temple in central Tokyo. The outflow of members is causing a sense of crisis. Holding study sessions on the Buddhist sutras to grow membership is the head priest Kansho Tagai.
There's a negative image of temples, that they have a high threshold and are difficult to follow, or that they'll take your money. So there are people who don't want to join us.
The decline in membership is even more severe in outlying regions. A growing number of temples no longer have priests and are in disrepair. Over the past decade, members of traditional Buddhist sects have shrunk by 20%. Kensho-in in Kumagaya, Saitama Prefecture. Hoping to reform the way the temple is run is head priest Hideki Hashimoto. At the entrance is a sign listing the vows taken by the priest himself, his disciples, and temple staff.
No golfing or fishing, no gambling, no luxury cars.
An even more drastic decision. Last year, he abolished the membership system, central to financing the temple. Members are no longer asked to pay donations and fees. Attracted by those ideas, 32 members of nearby temples switched their affiliation to his temple this spring.
At the front are the family tablets of the group that transferred here.
The new members cite the high burial costs and donations as the reason for their move.
At my former temple, they would ask for monetary offerings of $6,000 to $10,000. In this day and age, there's no job that'll pay that kind of money for 2 hours.
Members moving as a group from one temple to another is considered taboo in the Buddhist community. It has inevitably led to conflicts with other temples. At Kensho-in, joint burials are priced relatively low, starting at about $300. They've even acquired new members from other prefectures. In the corridor of the temple are Buddhist altars for the home. The prices are discounted by 60%.
We set up a place to display Buddhist items and sell them at reasonable prices.
What's more, Buddhist tablets and tombstones are directly procured from wholesalers, allowing them to offer low prices. The temple is continuing to explore new sources of funding to replace the membership system.
Temples need to have a solid financial foundation, or else we won't be able to carry out our religious activities. Establishing schools, training halls and group homes where the elderly can spend their days with peace of mind is my ultimate goal in life.
Amid the changes in society, family ties, and values, traditional cemeteries and temples may also need to be reborn.
Now, Rai-san, if you can take a look over here. Are you familiar with this term, Kleingarten?
No, but I assume it's German. What does it mean?
Well, the term refers to a widespread system of allotment gardens in Germany, you're right. That dates back over 200 years. And some rural regions in Japan are becoming depopulated, and those places are hoping to adopt this Kleingarten model to attract new residents. So take a look.
Hideo Okazaki is a freelance writer living in Kawagoe, Saitama Prefecture. He's preparing to go to a certain place with his family.
These are corn seedlings. Corn? What are you going to do with them? We're going to plant them at a farm. My grandchild planted the seeds.
His granddaughter Ko gets in the car and they set out. Driving on the highway and through mountain roads, it takes about 3 hours. They arrive at their destination in Matsumoto, Nagano Prefecture. A mountain cottage-like home.
The house and land where I grew up in Yamagata Prefecture are gone. This is like my new hometown.
At first glance, this house looks to be a vacation home.
The bitter gourd is tasty. You can pick them here. When were they planted? We planted the seedlings in May.
In front of the house is a 100-square-meter garden planted with various flowers and vegetables. Eggplants and tomatoes are just about ripe.
The tomatoes are beautiful.
This is fun.
The house is equipped with a proper kitchen. They begin preparing dinner.
A stir-fry of summer vegetables. Cucumbers, tomatoes, and basil. They're all from our farm.
The table is set on the terrace. It's lined with dishes using fresh vegetables picked on their farm.
The tomatoes from our farm have a very strong taste and are delicious.
The facility that Mr. Okazaki uses is called Kleingarten, a German word meaning small garden. Farms with small cottages are rented out for between $1,000 and $2,500 a year. People living in the cities like Mr. Okazaki use these facilities on weekends and holidays. There are said to be about 60 such Kleingarten across the country. Many have opened up in recent years. Nestled among the mountains of Kochi Prefecture is Motoyamacho. This June, a new Kleingarten was opened here.
These are the accommodation facilities for the Kleingarten.
There are 10 facilities in all, each with a living, dining, and kitchen area of 11 square meters, and a tatami room of 6 square meters.
This is the farm that's attached to each facility.
Each facility has a 66 square meter garden, where renters are free to grow fruits and vegetables. The rental fee is $4,000 a year. The contract can be renewed annually, and the same facility used for up to 3 years. Living in this Kleingarten is Mr. Kawamura. He says he shares his vegetables with neighbors.
I'm happy if they enjoy it. It's very rewarding for me. How is it?
Visiting him are local farmers.
Water's not good. You shouldn't water them. When the temperature is high, it'll boil them. You have to water them after sunset.
Mr. Kawamura is a complete novice at farming. He's told his watering methods are not correct. At Kleingarten, residents are taught the ins and outs of working the land by local farmers. When the sun sets,
You did well today. I still have a lot to learn.
events such as these are held regularly for local farmers and renters to get to know each other. This Kleingarten was set up by the local government. But why?
We'd be grateful if more people join our primary industry and work together with us to revitalize our region.
The population of Moto Yamacho has been shrinking. The financially strapped government hopes that by attracting new residents, they'll be able to raise tax revenues.
We believe those who try out our Kleingarten will be more open to relocating here.
Kasama, Ibaraki Prefecture. After experiencing the Kleingarten here, some outsiders have relocated permanently. We visited a home near the facility. The Mitsuis moved here from Saitama Prefecture. They built this house 8 years ago and transferred their residency.
Have you ever farmed before? No, I was an office worker, so never tried it. They taught me how to farm here. I still can't grow anything to boast about.
Mr. Mitsui worked as a salesman until retirement. Now his life centers on farming.
From here, all the way over there, is my farm. There aren't many places now where you can farm on such a big piece of land.
He says he never rode a tractor before moving here. Now, it's second nature.
Did you buy this on your own? Yes. It's second-hand, though. How much? $1,000?
Mr. Mitsui rents the property from a local landlord. He grows eggplants, peppers, and other vegetables. A portion of his harvest is sold through the local agricultural cooperative, allowing him to make a living.
Knowing people are willing to buy my produce makes my work fun and worthwhile.
Depopulated rural regions. The hope is that these Kleingarten will breathe new life into the land.
Well, Utsuda-san, making a living off the land in that kind of environment doesn't seem so bad.
No, it doesn't, does it? And some localities have even succeeded in drawing IT firms and other businesses that see rural areas as an ideal place for their employees to work and live.
Well, meanwhile, for outlying regions, depopulation is a serious problem.
It really is. As of April last year, there were about 1,700 cities, towns and villages in Japan. And how many do you think have shrinking populations?
Well, given the limited space in Japan, I can't imagine it's that many.
But the answer is 775, which is about 45%, so that's a pretty large number, isn't it?
Yes, it certainly is. And just like many Japanese companies, I guess they have to find a way to survive in this tough environment. And that brings us to the end of this edition of Channel Japan. We have much more in store for you, so join us again next week.
As the future evolves, Toyota is envisioning a more interconnected life where information and energy flow seamlessly throughout the globe. The road ahead will require diverse and eco-friendly mobility solutions. It is on this path that our small choices lead to big changes. Life. Connected. Toyota.
Traditional.
Consistent.
Precise.
Speedy.
Professional. Innovative.
Polite. Quality from Japan. The best of business in Asia. SMBC. Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation.
Sou uma pessoa comum. Eu gosto de apreciar todos os momentos do meu dia. Quanto isso pode me motivar? Como eu posso me manter focada? Tudo ao meu redor, incluindo os momentos do meu dia a dia, é o que eu preciso para me concentrar para a minha luta de 90 minutos. Quero dar esperança às pessoas. A better life, a better world.
Panasonic.
Trading card games transcend generations as well as borders. Trading card games will unite the world. However, the possibilities do not simply end there. Trading card games combine the different forms of entertainment, and fun will link the world as one. Bushiroad.
Mitsui & Company.
Sasuke, a new type of sports entertainment program conquering the world.
It's about human achievement and people's passions, and I think that relates to almost everybody.
From Japan to the world, Ninja Warrior, Tokyo Broadcasting System.